Journey separate ways, and we are live on the Santan Valley at KQCK Studios. Tom Di Camillo, Joe Carrero, and this is CAC Live. And you know, Joe, I'm glad you played that song. I actually had a friend in high school who looked like Steve Perry a little bit, so we used to make him try to sing that song, but he couldn't sing. It was terrible.
Not even close, huh?
No, not even close. So we saw cattle would run in the other direction. So today is CAC Live, our last show before the winter break, and we're going to talk sports today. And joining us in the studio is Denise Cardenas, better known as Gooch, the head coach of the Central Arizona College women's basketball program. Gooch, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. And speaking of Journey, I always try to put that on our warm-up tape, and it just doesn't fly anymore.
Do you think the students now, is it just past their time?
You know, if you play it enough, they start to like the songs. But
then you need to just keep playing it.
Right, and I try.
You know which one though the people today, the young people like, is that Don't Stop Believing. You see it like everywhere. Like my daughter didn't even know that was by Journey. She had somebody had remade it, and she just thinks it's the greatest song. I hear her singing it. I'm like, okay, let me show you the real version of that.
You know, I know younger people get accused of playing a lot of video games lately, but I'm thankful for Guitar Hero because it's bringing back the classics. So I'm all for it.
That's awesome. So today we're going to talk about Central Arizona College women's basketball, and the program started, I think, back 1974 is when the program started. One of the winningest, if not, it's got to be in the top 10 around the country at any level in terms of winning basketball programs. And Gooch, just looking at your record since you took over the program, 124-12. What I mean, there's schools that would die just to have a winning record, let alone something like that. What do you credit to having a record like that?
Well, we're very fortunate. You know, the foundation for this program was laid a long time ago, and we're not reinventing the wheel. It's about getting quality athletes in there and helping them grow and graduate. And obviously, they're very talented, so you know they're the ones that do the work. We just try to continue the tradition here.
Let's talk a little bit about the program itself. Central Arizona College is an NJCAA Division I program. Unlike an NCAA program, there's a 4-year. A lot of people are familiar with that. Out in the Western United States, it's a lot more common, and the programs seem to be more powerful in the West, Midwest, and Western United States. Talk about what the NJCAA is and what it's like to coach at a 2-year program, because you did play in a 4-year program, and what are some of the differences?
I played at both. I also played at Central.
That's right, you won a national championship when you were playing.
Right, in basketball and softball, which the softball one, I got 2 hits and got a ring. So the NJCAA, it's 2-year programs versus 4-year programs. There's your pros and cons, just like there is to anything else. I love being that stepping stone and helping student athletes get to that next level, after the 2 years with us, because something along the line, there's a reason they had to come to us. So I think it's a really unique thing that we have 2 years to, help them grow and get to that university level. Do
you think that, especially with the student athletes that you get at the 2-year level, a lot of times they're student athletes that maybe academically they're not sure what they want to do, where they want to go. They have all this talent, and maybe they're still trying to harness that. But in some ways, it's almost like a second chance or a way to just for them to kind of mature more so that they can move on to the next level.
Definitely. I think I've seen every reason for the 2-year route. But I think it's great.
I always say that, and when Jordan Railing was on, the men's coach, and John Wente's been on the show, I said 2-year coaches, and I worked at a 4-year school for 16 years in an athletic department. 2-year coaches at community colleges have the hardest recruiting job. Because at a 4-year institution, a lot of them want to build. They'll take transfers. But the transfers a lot of times are molded by people like you. Or they take 4-year student athletes where they mold them over the time. You have students in for 2 years, but sometimes they even go after a year because they have that opportunity to make that jump. So you have to be recruiting constantly. What's that like?
It constant every day. After this, I'm heading to games. Our Christmas break is recruiting. We have to bring in, you'd like to bring in 6 every year, but sometimes it's 7 and 8. There's been years where we've had 11 freshmen on the team just because of the situation. So Recruiting constantly.
Is it grueling, the recruiting? Because, I mean, there's an element that you obviously like to go watch games, but it's, as opposed to a 4-year coach, the one coach said, I'm looking at 3 or 4 players this year I'm bringing in. And you, like you said, you could bring in 10 or 11 if you had to.
And it's funny when I'm talking to coaches that are recruiting our athletes, because many calls for our athletes, especially with this year's team, they say, yeah, we're looking for, 2014-15. And I'm like, what? I don't even know what's going on tomorrow. I hope we have, I hope we get a, good look tomorrow at a game, but it's a completely different world.
Talk about what it's like. You come into the season, and in August when the schools, when the students are coming back, and oftentimes maybe half the team you're seeing for the first time, other than maybe seeing them as you're bringing them in. As a coach, when you have that many new players, what is your strategy? What's your plan from the outset?
Oh, it changes depending on the teams, depending on our personnel and who we have, is how we approach the season. But I'll get asked many times in the summer, how are you guys gonna look this year? I don't know. I hope they get off the plane. And then when we get them all here, which we usually do, it's just, we read the dynamic and go from there.
Is that a challenge that student athletes, that some just don't come?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You could, they could make, a decision late. They could transfer in many sports, and I know especially with baseball, they could go pro on you. They can go, you just never know. You never know.
It's an interesting dynamic, because when I've talked to like your assistant coaches sometimes, and I'll say, how's the personality of the team? And it really does change from year to year, where teams that are together for 3 or 4 years, if you have like a 4-year school, they might have 3 years of solid players together. Coach kind of knows the personality. But in your case, the personality not only can change from year to year, but from August until December, the personality can change.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do you gauge that?
Yeah.
Is that the trick to coaching?
Luck. A lot of luck. No, you just go to work every single day, and things could change day to day, but the goal never changes, mentality never changes of what we're trying to do. So that really helps.
How do you decide how far to push? You're dealing with a lot of freshmen, and obviously sometimes fragile mentalities, as opposed to seniors who've been around a while that can take that, or even a sophomore, it's in the second year of your program. How, as a coach, do you know when to push them harder and kind of corral that? And you're smiling because obviously it's something you think about probably day to day.
That's where my assistant coaches come in.
Good cop, bad cop?
Definitely. They do an outstanding job. Everybody, we're kind of I like to think of us as a machine now. We're going into 5 years, and the 3 of us together, and that's really, really helped. I think of myself more as a disciplined coach. I like to say raised by a disciplined coach. And, I have some really good assistants that say, that line, you're flirting with it. So it's, it's time to pull back. But, I think they can handle it. I think that the athletes want the discipline. You just have to do it in the right way, and then they have to know how much you care about them before you can do that. So.
Do you have to be part parent?
Absolutely, but I think it's a funny thing, because somebody has them for 18 years, and then they show up with us, and it's all of a sudden in 3 months, it's like, well, why haven't they changed, or what's going on? And I'm like, it takes some time, so hopefully we can make an impact on their life for that 1 or 2 years that we have them. But I think that's hilarious, because you do play a parent role, but we're not their parent, And
they are adults. Most of them are 18 years old, and they're technically adults.
18 is the technical
mentally, they're probably not.
Guitar hero.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge as a coach at a 2-year college that you face? Or maybe kind of describe what are some of the things that are the hardest parts of the job?
One of the hardest parts of the job is, you might get an athlete in that, for 2 years, you build that foundation, they're ready to go, and they're ready. I mean, they're going to have their best year coming up as a junior, and you got to let them go. That's challenging for me. because we always, we joke a lot about, God, if, Susie Bell, what if we had her another year, and that makes it tough. But you know what? It's for them, and whatever's best for them, they need to move on, and hopefully that we have made them better when they do move on.
Do you lose a lot of players at their freshman year because you have so much talent and
that's an interesting subject as well, because if they are academically ready and talent ready, I like to see them go, because then they have. I don't, and I do. I have to say I like to see them go.
Yeah.
Of course, I want them because they're talented. But what's best for them is if they can go to the school of their choice for 3 years, that benefits them.
So it's when you look at especially NCAA Division I and even the other levels, a lot of winning is predicated on winning. With you guys at the 2-year level, not that the winning's not important, but the challenge is that across the country at a 2-year level, you could have a championship team, and the next year, if everybody goes, you could have one of the worst teams in the country because you don't know what you're going to get.
Right. And that's true for everybody. And you said, what'd you say, Tom, about winning is what? Do you know what institution is in? Winning is important.
Winning is important, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I think for every program at Central Arizona College. And you know what? It starts with the coaches. We have a lot of pride in that. It may be junior college, but we do have a lot of pride at keeping, Central Arizona College at the very top. And I think that's true for every single coach on that campus. And it's really a pleasure to work with them.
So the winning that is important at Central Arizona College is
winning in every way.
In every way. But when you look at the
classroom,
and which are CAC athletes, student athletes do a great job in the classroom. So first of all, the myth that a lot of athletes go to junior colleges or community colleges because they can't make the grades, that's a myth. Some do that because they want it, but some are not mature enough to go yet to a 4-year school.
That's correct. We have many 3.8 to 4.0 students on my team right now, and they wanted to build their stock on the basketball floor. So they come with us, and they try to do it. And if it's not after 1 year, they go after 2. But like I said, there's many reasons that they come to us.
When you look at CAC and you look at all the programs and all the winning across the spectrum of athletics, it seems like the athletes come here, the student athletes come here. Is it reputation? It has to be reputation.
Oh, a lot of it is. Sure. And we would be foolish not to build on that reputation. You come to a school and you see, what is it? With cross country, is it 37 national titles now? And I mean, that's insane, and it's really a special thing to be a part of.
It's CAC is. It's pretty much almost every sport. Mm-hmm. Most of the sports have won a national championship. I always tell people when I talk about CAC is I spent 16 years at an athletic program that had 24 sports. And so 24 times 16 years, I saw one national championship in 16 years. So you look at 24 times 16, how many seasons is that? At CAC, it's almost a disappointment when teams don't win a national championship.
It's so funny. It's so somebody will say, well, how are you guys doing? What's the record? And we're 23-1. Well, what happened? I'm like, well, I guess you're right. I guess the bar set pretty high. So
it's let's talk a little bit about your record, because this is what always kind of fascinates me. As 4 years head coach, you have a combined record of 124-12. You've only lost 12 times in 4 years. That's amazing. It's a 967.7 winning percentage. That's unbelievable to have that. You won the national championship as a head coach. What, 2009? Is that when you guys won? But every year it's routine. You guys are in that national tournament. I mean, it's like you have your hotels booked in Kansas for that national. Oh
no, Tom, we don't. We don't do that.
From the outside looking in. Internally, no. But from the outside looking in, it's like, okay, they're going to go there again.
It costs us a little more, but we do not book anything until we're done. You can never do that. But, the record, that's just a number. My assistant coaches and the players, we all do it as a team. And it is a special thing. But like I said, we came into a very fortunate situation. I was here, 5 years as a coach and 2 years as a player before, and you come in and, in 2009 we had a group of hungry athletes. We only lost by 1 point in the championship game in 2008. So, you have seven sophomores that come in and they're hungry, and the transition was simple. It's almost like the coaching transition was kind of put to the side because the goal of winning the following year was, so important.
That year you had a lot of sophomores. Do you ever get student athletes that want to come back to win to win a national championship, as opposed to maybe they have an opportunity to go on to a 4-year school, but they really think they need to stay one more year? And
I think I have one on my team right now that unfortunately, she got injured, but I think she's going to return and give it another go. And we have a few with that unfinished business, and this is, for a lot of them, this is their opportunity to win a national title. Unless you go to maybe one of 4 or 5 schools,
yes.
It's going to be tough. So, they a lot of pride, and even as a player, I wanted it to be a 4-year. As an assistant, I heard it over and over, and as a head coach, but they don't like it when they're in it. When we're running that hill, and when they don't want it to be a 4-year then. But when it's all said and done, coach, I wish it was a 4-year.
You're listening to CAC Live. Tom Di Camillo, Joe Carrero. We're talking with Gooch Cardenas, the head coach of the Central Arizona College women's basketball team. We're going to take some calls. Joe Carrero is manning the phones. 480-745-1033. You can give your questions to Joe. 480-745-1033. Central Arizona College, one of the top women's basketball programs of all time across this entire country. I was looking on the website, and I was looking at the list of players that went on to 4-year schools, and you just had to scroll down and down and down, and it's amazing the players that have gone on.
And we're about a year and a half behind on that. There's still quite a few that we need to add to that as well.
Are there certain schools, I know like Oklahoma State tended to have a lot of CAC, are there certain schools or coaches that tend to come here a lot because they know, hey, this is where we can get the athletes?
Oh, yes. Even if we do not have an athlete for a particular school, there are some schools that just come every year, to keep the relationship. They might be, friends of mine, friends of one of my assistants, but they've come. We've had, 25 to 30, come this year, and it's just, the talent on this team is, pretty high, at a high level. But every year they come, and, it's always a pleasure to see them. It's a good problem. Sometimes I'll leave the office and I'll come back and you have 45 new messages, and I'm like, geez, 2 are for me, and 43 are for the girls. It's a great problem to have. Great.
Do the head coaches at the Division I come, or do they usually send assistants? Or
both?
Both. So CAC is definitely on the map, obviously on the radar for those coaches. Have you had players go on to the professional level, both in the United States and overseas?
Quite a few overseas, and Amanda Lassiter and Bridget Pettis, who both played for Coach Larson, played in the WNBA. And then we've had a few make it to camp, and a few here and there, but many overseas.
Where did Bridget played for the
Mercury?
And is she still coaching with that, or is she?
I think she just finished coaching this last season, and she is doing some, she's running some organizations for some charities, stuff like that.
And then it's funny because you do periodically get players from overseas. I mean, you see that a lot in the track program at CAC. But how do those players end up at CAC coming from overseas? Like, I think you had somebody from Australia a couple of years ago. Was that?
Oh, goodness. We've had, the Virgin Islands. We had one from Bulgaria last year. Nigeria, 2 of them this year. And that's networking, and players who've played here in the past, they help us out quite a bit. And it's just a lot of networking with, universities or other coaches, or even coaches that are overseas.
When you have a student athlete that comes over from overseas, are their basketball skills different? Is there anything different you have to do as a coach that, since they're not growing up in a high school program here?
With some of them, it's funny. I think that sometimes I think we're easy for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes I do, and then sometimes I don't. But I do think that we'll be real disciplined with them, and they're kind of looking at us like, well, you're not going to, take my, I don't know, whatever away. But it is different, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot.
When you have a team, what's most important about the team? Is it chemistry? Does it really come down to you can have all the talented athletes? I saw one time in a game that 10 Division I transfers to a Division II school. And by the time it was a playoff game, it was a school. I was working for one school, and we were playing them. They started fighting on the court. It was a playoff game. They could never mesh, all the talent in the world. Mm-hmm. And the team with the less talent won. And it always struck me as no matter what you do, it still comes down to the chemistry and those players really understanding what the coach wants and really getting along on the court, not being selfish. Is that the most important thing, or are there other aspects?
There's many important things that go with it. Many important. Chemistry is definitely up there, but you can't force it. And that's the interesting thing. That's why we have upsets, because, you have a real, big-time talent team, and, they get upset by a less talented team, but that works hard. But if the talent works really hard, they're really tough to beat.
That's interesting. You said they can't force it. I think we have a call.
Yes, we just had a message from Cynthia, Scott, Jeannie, and Russ. They said, keep up the great work, Gooch.
Great.
That was it.
I will do.
Yeah. If you have some questions, Joe's manning the phones, 480-745-1033. If you're not out Christmas shopping at this point, holiday shopping.
You looked surprised to hear that. Did you not recognize those names?
No, I did.
Oh, okay. I'm going,
You're listening to CAC Live. Tom Di Camillo, Joe Carrero. We're speaking with Gooch Cardenas, the head coach of the women's basketball program at Central Arizona College. Gooch, let's talk about some of the players on this year's team. Your record now, and traditionally you have a tough schedule that you. Mm-hmm. As a coach, do you put together the schedule yourself, or is that something?
Yes, we try to go to tournaments, and I like going on the road, because to win a national title, you go on the road. You have to win 4 games in 5 days, which is another unique thing. You don't have the 2-week rest or the week rest, or it's back to back to back. So playing high level teams early in the season is really, really good for us.
I've asked coaches this question a lot in some different venues that I've been involved with, and they all seem to say the same answer. They like starting on the road, because, especially with a young team, because it builds, go back to the chemistry, camaraderie, as opposed to the distractions of being at home. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of team bonding goes on the road, and I'm a big fan of the bus. I'd rather bus than fly, so we get a lot of time together.
So when you've gone to the national championships in Kansas, you've flown and bussed?
We've done both, yes.
And which is a better experience, even though it's a long ride?
Well, flying gets you there quicker, but when you're on your way home, I don't like waiting for a flight. I like being able to get on the bus and just head home, even though it is 17 hours, and I'm getting the snarls, but I don't care.
It's usually easier with a bus that you can kind of control. Like, the travel is a hard thing.
I know. I like getting my bags on the bus and being done.
Yeah, you don't have to be stressed out about getting to the airport, getting through the checkout, making sure everybody has IDs.
And this one's hungry, and this one goes to the bathroom, and this one, this one. So I'd like to just have them on the bus. We stop.
It's like herding cats sometimes.
Right.
So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Gooch about some of the players on the team and moving forward this season, what we can expect. You're listening to CAC Live on KQCK in the Santan Valley.
Are you experiencing computer problems? Is your computer running slow? Bogged down with viruses and spyware? You need a reliable and knowledgeable, trustworthy computer service company. Contact Computers, Networks, and More, located in Santan Valley. Get your computer or laptop running in top condition by a certified technician with 20-plus years experience and beta tester from Microsoft. Computers, Networks, and More provides repairs and solutions to any computer-related issue, whether it's software, installation, troubleshooting, updates, or tune-ups. You can trust Computers, Networks, and More. Contact Jeff Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. to schedule an appointment. We can have you up and running quickly, usually within 48 hours. Located in Santan Valley. Computers, Networks, and More. We're here for you. Contact Jeff at 480-729-8899. That's 480-729-8899. Our family pets are such a big part of our lives. That's why Kelly's Critter Clips of Queen Creek and Sun Lakes has been providing pet grooming services for over 10 years. Your dog's comfort is very important to us, so we take the time to treat your pet with care, love, and professional attention it deserves. We welcome any size and breed and feature shampoo and conditioning, styling, flea and tick dips, ear cleaning, nail trimming, and so many other services that will leave your pet looking good and smelling good and feeling great, all at an affordable price. Located in Queen Creek and Sun Lakes, call now for an appointment, 480-655-5066. Kelly's Critter Clips. When you visit Hill Family Dentistry in Santan Valley, dentist Dr. Tim Hill provides each patient with personalized, gentle care that you deserve. Our entire team is dedicated to providing you and your family with services that will make you smile. With a full range of general, cosmetic, and specialty dentistry services that will keep you and your family smiling. Our commitment to our community is to provide outstanding oral health. Hill Family Dentistry is located on 36359 Ganzel Road in Santan Valley, diagonally across from Banner Ironwood Hospital. Evening and weekend appointments available. We accept most insurances and have in-office policies available for non-insured. Contact us today at 480-588-8127. Hill Family Dentistry.
Are you planning on starting a new business in this economy? As a new business, you know you'll need to watch every single dollar. Before you make any decisions on phone service, call Zentrus Communications at 1-877-ZENTRUS. That's 1-877-936-8727.
Bocce Italian Bistro of Arizona is the best-kept secret this side of Italy, located in southeast Mesa between Hawes and Ellsworth Road on Germain. For authentic family-cooked Italian cuisine, come and savor delicious dishes made from the freshest ingredients. We promise to deliver a true Italian family dining experience. Open for lunch Tuesday through Friday from 11 a.m. with all new $3.95 lunch specials, including our world-famous meatball and sausage sandwiches. Or indulge in one of our Frank the Godfather special sandwiches today. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday open from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Come and experience true Italian perfection. Bocce's Italian Bistro. Visit the website bocceitalianbistro.com. That's BACIITALIANBISTRO.com. Located at 8830 East Germain Road in Mesa. You deserve the best.
You're listening to CAC Live. Tom Di Camillo, Joe Carrero. We are live in the Santan Valley in the KQCK studios. We're visiting with Gooch Cardenas, the head women's basketball coach at Central Arizona College. And if you want to come down and see great women's basketball, and especially if you have daughters and you want to see great women's basketball, I have a daughter that likes to play basketball, and I like her to use female student athletes as role models. And her thing is now swimming. But if you're enjoying it, you can check out the schedule on centralaz.edu. We will have a new athletic website here after the new year, but centralaz.edu has the schedule on it. And talk a little bit about your schedule, Gooch. We talked about how you make your own, but in terms of the conference, explain what conference you're in for those that are listening that don't know and how all that works.
We are in the ACCAC conference, and it is made up of Division I and Division II. So there's 4 teams on the women's side in Division I, and there's 5 teams on the Division I side on the men's side. On the men's side, there's 5 teams because Mesa's in there, and on the women's side, Mesa Community College is Division II. So there's 4 Division I's and 7 Division II's with Tohono O'odham, who is just recently added this year. They're independent this year, so they won't be able to play or compete for the conference until next year.
So as a conference, you all play each other and vie for the conference championship?
Everybody, we play all the teams, Division I and Division II, so every game counts as far as our record. But our playoffs are versus the Division I teams, which is Cochise College, Eastern Arizona College, Arizona Western College, and Central.
And is that the conference championship, or is that a region championship that you end up playing? Or
Well, we have a conference champion, which is the best overall record, and then the region champion of the just from the Division Ones.
And then that goes on to the national tournament, and then Division II has their own.
Correct.
So it takes your regular season record. So a Division II or one team could win the conference, and then you split up and go your own way.
Right.
Okay. And then the national tournament. How many teams go to the national tournament?
Well, it used to be 16, but this year they're going to a 24-team format, so that's going to be very interesting. They're going to do the 16 region winners, and then there will be 8 bids. So that's going to be. I'm really excited about that. I hope we're a part of it.
So so teams that have regions that have, say, the runner-up, if they're good enough, they can get selected, I'm assuming, by a committee.
Right. And there has been a few times in the last couple of years that I think 2 would have gone from our conference.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Joe, looks like we got a call.
Sarah from Phoenix just wants to know where she can pick up a schedule.
You can go to centralaz.edu, and then when you get on the main website, look at the top right side. You'll see a link to athletics. Click on women's basketball, and then you'll be able to see the schedule. Your conference schedule, you play some games before the holidays, but it really picks up after the holiday break.
Yes, we play a tournament in Tucson against 3 really good teams, and then our conference. I mean, we have 4. We have all the Division Ones plus Mesa right in a row. So, luck of the draw.
It's and then CAC the facility, the Central Arizona College, the gym where the arena that you guys play in is a really nice facility, and it's located at the Signal Peak campus between Coolidge and Casa Grande. If you're coming down from Phoenix, just come down I-10 and get off at the McCartney exit, follow it to the first traffic light, make a left, and you'll come right into the campus, and the gym is on the right. Talk a little bit let's talk about the players on this year's team. Now, one of the players who you were expecting high things from, Paris Webb, you were expecting had a shot at being an All-American, got injured this year. How much of a blow was that to you guys?
Well, All-American, to be an All-American, you have to have really high numbers, and Paris does so much on the floor that doesn't always show up in the scorebook. She was our leader. She had high hopes for herself. She's very self-motivated and coming into this season, and there's 3 minutes to go against Trinity Valley, who was the 4th-ranked team in the country when we went to Midland, Texas. And Paris goes down, and I saw it in her eyes. Kind of had a feeling that it wasn't good. So, she will be out for the year, but she's going to make a strong comeback. She's one of the toughest people I know. So,
and just since she's not playing the rest of the year, what makes her so good? Is she like the quarterback on the? Is she like the coach on the court? Does she just keep everybody together? Or?
Well, your point guard in a way is your coach on the floor. They have the ball in their hands a lot. So, direction and a lot of stuff that we not necessarily took for granted, but that we're really having to stress now, Paris used to just naturally do. And that comes from maturity. Second year, as sophomore, as your point guard really, really helps as well.
Let's talk about some of you got some size on the team. You have 6'3", 6'4", 6'2", 6'1". Mm-hmm. Talk about some of the players in your front court.
Well, I really want to thank Coach Drew Larson and Coach Mal Parsons. They're my assistant coaches, and we decided as a team, which I call the 3 of us a team, that we were going to go out and we were going to get some players this year. I mean, you want to do that every year, but Drew took it on as his main goal to get these kids in, and he worked his tail off. So Shea Brown, Joymisia Howard, IJ Chendu, Tim Tope, we have some height there.
Let's go down your starting lineup so people know.
Well,
or does that change?
Right now it has been changing. It starts in practice. So, we watch practice and determine for each game and also who we're playing, who will be starting. But, right now we're starting Tanjanique, a freshman point guard out of Las Vegas, at the point guard. Bria Edwards out of Illinois at the wing, IJ Tendu, who is a 6'1" wing player, and we start Joy and Shay down low.
And when you look at a point guard, what makes up a good point guard? I mean, what do you
and
look
it's not
for?
necessarily talent. It's not. It's direction. It's how coachable are they, how tough they are, because as a head coach, I am toughest on my point guards. I think you need to be, because they need to handle the pressure in pressure situations in a game. But it's how they're able to handle their peers. You know, they don't necessarily have to be a scoring machine. You know, I like my point guards to assist first, and then look to score when they have to. But they need to hopefully be able to if they are, you know, left wide open.
Is that something that's when you bring an athlete in, it's going to be a point guard? Is that something that they have to have sort of that innate ability, or is that something that's teachable? I mean, is it hard to take an athlete and turn them into a point guard, or do they kind of have that built into them and you just kind of hone it and make them better?
Yes, you have a point guard, or you have a guard playing point, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's you just have to work with them, and that's what I'm so thankful for. You know, the first 5 months before we have to play for a championship, that's the kind of stuff you weed out.
I saw a team that I was involved with had 4 players that were all conference, and the point guard went down for the year, and they had a guard playing point, and the team couldn't go anywhere. The athlete did the best they could, but they weren't a point guard, and you could see when they took that dynamic out. That's probably, when I look at it, that's probably one of the, you lose your point guard and you continue to win. You're doing a heck of a coaching job, and your team's doing a heck of a job, because that's probably one of the most devastating positions to lose on a basketball team.
Right, and when someone goes down, injuries happen all the time. Someone needs to step up, and that's just what it comes down to. It's go time. It's time to, who's going to get it done.
How much when you, as a coach, do you prepare for injuries? You don't like to think about them.
No, I think when you bring it into the universe, you're asking for trouble.
You just get everybody ready, though? That anybody can play at any time?
You always want to have a backup to each position. And then, once if there's an injury, then here we go. You step them up. You try to give them the confidence and that they can do the job.
You have a couple players from overseas you talked about. IJ's from Lagos. And how do you say your name?
We call her Taupe. It's easiest.
Taupe. It's easier, from Nigeria. How did they end up?
We had a player in, Rashida was 03, 04 from Nigeria. And then we had another one in 05 and 06, Aisha Mohammed from Nigeria. And then, the networking, Rashi gave me a call and said that, there's a couple of players. And, then you just start talking to them yourself. And, if they like you, they come. Well,
obviously, you can't go to Nigeria to go see them play.
No, but one of these days I'd like to. I get invited each year, and I think it'd be an interesting experience.
So it aside from being able to go see them, even some places around the country, you probably don't get to fly everywhere or go everywhere.
No.
It's probably mostly, local. So how, as a coach, do you judge? Do you look at film?
Absolutely, film. And it's so easy to send film now through the internet or YouTube or anything. You can send film, and it's not very difficult when you see somebody that's 6'2", 6'3" that can handle the ball, shoot the ball, that say we have a scholarship for you.
Has that, something interesting? You said that the explosion of YouTube and all these kind of things, it really has opened up a different avenue for recruiting to places, but you probably couldn't get to.
I had a conversation with Pat Summitt. It was when Coach Larson was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and she was talking about that. I'll never forget it, because she told me that before it was office hours. Now you can take your office with you anywhere, so you can pretty much recruit and do anything from anywhere, and that's why she doesn't require her athletes, her coaches, to be in the office all the time. So,
talk about the differences and you played. Obviously, you played at CAC and then went on to a 4-year. When you were being recruited, how has it changed? When you got recruited and coaches were coming to you to get you to play, How has it changed today when you're trying to recruit? Is the athlete different?
Absolutely. Social media has made it completely different. If you don't Twitter it or if you don't something, you're not going to get a hold of them. But, I remember when I played at Central, pagers was a thing, and I didn't have a pager, and cell phones were really non-existent, but they did have, a pay phone. And Coach Larson always used to talk about even recruiting before, the few years before my class got there, is, a coach would call the one payphone on campus, and they would, someone would pick it up, let it dangle, and go spend 20 minutes trying to find the athlete so they can talk on the phone. And then
that's great.
Email was pretty big when I was being recruited, but now it's just, I think you can send a mind signal to them, and it gets there so fast. So, you definitely have to keep up with the technology in this game.
Is there a point that some of it gets overloaded? You think of the ease of the technology. First of all, it's probably hard. I used to hear coaches say they would know about a player and maybe nobody else knew about them. So because the technology wasn't readily available like this, you can't hide.
There's no secrets anymore. No. I'll see, and we're even guilty of it too. We see something and we're on it right away.
Right.
It's silly not to. I mean,
Is there a point that it's with the student athletes that it gets too much? They're so inundated.
That's why the university level has so many rules about how they can contact the athletes, and I kind of like that as well as how they can contact us, because they have contact periods. They have no contact periods. They are not allowed to text them. So it definitely helps. But see, at our level, we don't have those rules. So
it's a different world now. Periodically, do you get student athletes that are maybe at the NCAA level or NAI level, four-year school, that want to come back for whatever reason?
Absolutely. There's many times that, and I think it's a special thing when you have an athlete that's choosing between, a Division I and Central Arizona College. They're qualified, nothing's holding them back. It's just the wanting to come play here over a university.
Wow.
And, that's very special. And when they choose a university, I like to joke with them and say, you know what, I'll be hearing from you. And sure enough, Coach, I think I want to transfer, So it's we have those a lot.
Is that when student athletes go back, I don't want to say go back, when they change programs and go to a 2-year college, is that they're just not ready for a 4-year yet, or it's just a lot of different reasons?
Oh, there's so many different reasons. When in doubt, blame the coach. That's what I That's what I hear a lot of, because it does come down to you, when you're the head of a program, and no matter what, it falls back on you, no matter what it is.
Is there today, when you look at the different rules at the NJCA level that universities and colleges have, ones that want to go on to 4-year institutions, at the time that you played and now, is there more pressure on a student athlete to perform in the classroom and on the court?
Oh, yes. They're raising, the GPA's gone up from a 2.0 to a 2.5. I like to joke and say that they might as well make junior college Division I or university level, because the rules are starting to even out a little bit. And, but I think different pressures, but.
How much pressure do student athletes feel away from the court when they're coming in college? In other words, they have all the pressure of practice, then they have the pressure of the classroom. Does the social aspect of living on a campus, just a typical college life, is that a break for them from the practice and the classroom, or does that just add to it? Or it depends on the athlete? It depends
on the athlete, and it also depends on that first 18 years. I talked about how they had it at home. If I've had athletes tell me, they've never been to a movie, so then they get to campus and they get a little silly. But then I've had, ones that haven't really had a home. So now that they call this their home, they cherish it. And it's, every situation's unique.
Do all the athletes at CAC, do they live in the residence halls?
Most.
Mm-hmm. Most. What's the difference between NJCA Division I and 2 levels? Is it residential halls, scholarships?
Right. It is. I like to just say, if you can house them, it's Division I, but a lot of it comes down to the residence life or the residence halls.
You're listening to CAC Live. Tom Di Camillo, Joe Carrera. We're visiting with Gooch Cardenas, the head coach of the Central Arizona College women's basketball team. Gooch, talk about your playing experience as a student athlete. How did that help you get to this point? You played at CAC, won a national championship, and then went on to a 4-year institution. People say they would never trade that experience, but what was the experience like for you to be an athlete?
I think, when I came in my freshman year to Central, after my freshman year, I knew I wanted to coach. So anything after that, I was going to play as long as I could, and then move to the.
What made you want to coach? What did you see in that first year that made you want to coach?
Well, a lot of it was you once you come to the realization that you might not be able to play pro or play forever, you want to stay around the game. So then you look at ways to stay around the game. There's, for instance, what you do, or athletic training, or coach. And then, it was just, I wanted that hands-on still. I still wanted to compete. So coaching was the way for me. And, coming in, and all the coaches I've played for, from Coach Larson to my coach at Mizzou to my coach at Cal State, I've taken a little bit from each one of them, and I just love it. I just love it.
So then kind of continue your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you before, but now you go to a 4-year institution. What was the difference? I mean, obviously the arenas are probably bigger. You might be on television more.
Yeah, it was easier. No, I'm just
that may be true.
In some cases, I love that phone call. Coach, we only had to run, 2 laps today, and I'm like, just wait. Okay, the hours are different. Just wait.
Before you took over, I had Lynn yelling at me when I was playing pickup on the court out there, so I know what you went through.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's different. The pressures are different. But I never really got caught up in too much of the hype, I guess you could say.
So could you focus on just playing because you like to play the game? Is that what it comes down to?
Sure.
Because you do see some athletes, even pros, college, they get caught up in the hype.
Yeah, I'm not good enough to get caught up in the hype. I didn't know life inside the 3-point line, so I just, I think that's funny. But
the student athletes, I always say, when you look at the GPA, student athlete GPAs are often higher than the general student population. I mean, I know that's true at the NCAA level. A lot of institutions, that's true as a group, because they have to be regimented. Do you think that helped you being a student athlete in your career, of being kind of regimented? Obviously, playing for Lynn Larson, you had to be regimented, and playing for any of your coaches. But did it kind of help you where you are today, that you had that experience as a student athlete?
Oh, absolutely. I even think going to the high school level, I even think, I really stress sports. Starting from the age you can play organized sports, it teaches you so much. You have to work for a boss you don't always agree with. You have to work with a team. There's so many lessons that go into it just besides the sport itself.
What do the student athletes that have gone on after your program, and then they go on to college and they play, and now they go out into the working world, what do they come back and say to you? Now, some of them
Coach, I get it. I get it. I mean, you should. You're 30. Yeah. So, a lot of them, they agree with what you were trying to teach them now, but until you go through life experiences, it's really tough.
They're too young to.
Yeah.
Do you get ones that get it early on?
Sure.
That really like you go, you look at them and say, no matter what this person does, they're going to be successful. Maybe they don't play anymore. Maybe they don't start at a 4-year school.
There's always those, I tell a few, on my team right now that, when you make more money than I'll ever see, you better donate them shoes or whatever the case is. And Coach Mallory Parsons was one of those. She finished her 2 years at Central, and, she visited some high academic schools to play as well. And she wanted to coach. So she came back right away, and she was one of those that was going to, she used to help me with my homework when I was getting my master's degree, so.
You said something earlier, and I wanted to touch on about your coaching staff. You talk about the turnover of players at a 2-year college, but I'm sure at 2-year colleges around the country, you see that at 4-year colleges, but a lot of times assistant coaches turn over. You might be part-time coaches at a lot of schools. The fact that you guys have been together 5 years, you said, that's got to be extremely important for the integrity of the program.
Right. It's a special situation, and I'm grateful for it every day. I have a different relationship with Coach Mal and Coach Drew, and I think they're not. I don't want to say comfortable. Comfortable is not the right word, but we really enjoy where we are, and
you're in sync. It seems like when I see you guys on practice, just it works really well.
Right. And in the first few years, it wasn't like that, And that, like I said, you don't become a group in 1 second. It takes some time.
The when you look around at other coaching staffs in the conference that you're in or around the country, do you see a lot of turnover at the community college level?
Oh yes. We kind of joke about the different polo. Someone will every year come in a different polo, and recruiting, and it's like, okay, no, which school are you at now? But whatever's better for them. Some believe that on the move is the way to go, and some believe establish yourself, for a bulk of years, and then move on. It all depends on personal preference, really.
When you have somebody, like you said, Drew is out coaching or recruiting, and you're out at the high schools, there's got to be a certain comfort level for the high school coaches that see the same people coming in, that get to, because they kind of know where they're going to send. There's coaches that, let's say high school coaches, some of them are parents of their, and they're going to send they look at them at their kids, they have them for 4 years. They're going to send them off to a college. It's more than just the playing and the academics. They want to know they're going to get a good experience and that the person's going to have their best interest. So it's got to be some sort of a tangible sort of asset for CAC, for you guys, to be able to go into a school and have those coaches know this is a good program because these guys have been here for a while and you're going to get this best experience. Right.
Well, that precedence was set, 30 years ago. Yeah. I like the fact that I put on the same polo and go into these schools, and they see Central Arizona College, and right there it speaks for itself. Especially, if you walk in a women's basketball game, and Coach Drew, he's not hard to hide. He's a 6'3" big redhead. So
I've tried guarding him. Yeah. I know it's a little hard.
he's easy to spot. But no, we have a lot of pride in this institution, and like I said, we're very proud to wear the CA.
It's got to be somewhat unusual. The program's almost 40 years old. That there's only been 2 head coaches, right? Mm-hmm. During that whole time, and that speaks volumes for consistency in the program. Let's go back to the freshman players. I see this in freshman students that first semester come in and they're wide-eyed. They're deer in a headlight. You know what I'm talking about. And a lot of them, they come back from the holiday break, and there's something that clicks in a lot of them.
Oh yes, you're a sophomore when you come back from the holiday break. Yeah, you're not a freshman anymore. You're on the downslope now, and but they are, and I really see the deer in headlight moments when they're on the free throw line in a crucial game, or the game is tight. You really see the deer in the headlights, because sometimes athletes like to act like they're not nervous or they're. But, nerves are good. I still get nervous before jump ball. And then once it's tipped, everything's fine. I feel the calmest I ever am after the ball's tipped. But until that jump, and no matter the opponent, it's still exciting for me. It's still exciting to drive to the airport and pick up a recruit. So I think when that feeling goes, I think it's time to stop.
Where are you most comfortable as a coach? When the game starts on that court, in practice, or out in the recruiting?
I love the last 5 minutes of a tight game. That is my most comfortable. I don't know. It just seems like, everything else goes away, but you have that last 5 minutes and the game's on the line, and that's an adrenaline rush that you can't explain.
Can you enjoy it? Because you watch sometimes today, and coaches, like, they coach, and it's almost like they hate it. I've even heard coaches say, I just hate it. And I'm like, well, why are you doing it?
You know what? I get asked that too, and I think it's the eyebrows. It's just kind of how I look. I'm really not mad, but everyone always thinks I am.
But you're intense.
Absolutely.
But that's part of it. It doesn't mean you're mad, but you're focused. Maybe focus is a better word.
And I think there's some coaches on the sidelines that really don't like it. And there are some days that I after, a day, you are really frustrated. You're mad, and you do go home and you're like, what am I doing? And you drive everybody crazy, and then you come back the next day and you figure it out. I think if you get to do something, just in the conversation when I see you, just seem obviously just love to do this. Yes.
And at CAC, you love to do it. It's at CAC.
I do. And you know what? Everyone has their days, but ultimately I really do.
It's, if you're interested in checking out Central Arizona College and the women's basketball program, when is your next home game?
We go to Tucson, and then we play Eastern on the 9th. So we go to Tucson for 3 games, and then we're at Western, at Mesa, and then we're home versus Eastern.
So if people are up in the valley and want to check you out on the road, they can go up to Mesa Community College.
Sure, that's going to be a good game.
That's a Saturday afternoon at 2 on the 5th of January. And then Central Arizona College, again, a terrific arena. I was at a game the other night up at Grand Canyon in the South Mountain. One of the assistant men's coaches for South Mountain was there, and he said, "Boy, you guys have a really nice facility compared to everybody else."
You know, and we're always fighting for that facility, but it's unique. It has a lot of character. You know, I walk in sometimes, and even I feel like I'm coaching against. You know, I look up and it's the 82 team, and I'm like, oh my God! Like, you know, you definitely feel it in there, and I like watching opposing teams come in and, you know, look around at the banners, and we don't have portable baskets. They still come down from the roofs, and you know, I think it's great. It's definitely a unique place.
Well, now you have the Hall of Fame banner hanging up there for Lynn Larson when she was inducted, and I noticed that the other night.
Well, she's inducted this year, so sure, she's inducted this February 9th.
For the Vaquero?
Correct.
For that. And I think it doesn't mention that on that banner. She was inducted into the WBCA Hall of Fame. I think it was 2008, I think it was.
And she was inducted into the NJCAA Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So it's the program at Central Arizona College has a lot of history, a lot of nostalgia when you do. It is imposing when you walk in there. When I bring friends for the first time and you see the banners, I mean, people just look at all the sports and all the pictures, and it's almost like a museum.
You know what's kind of funny is, you know, I've had people go, well, what happened in 2002? And I'm like, okay, so thanks for noticing, but you know, I think it's funny.
I said that. Somebody said that. Well, they didn't do that. They didn't do that well this year. Like, where'd they finish? Second. Really? Yeah. I said, you guys have no idea. I said, this is extremely special of what CAC has in its sports program, especially women's basketball, to be at that level. Well, Gooch, we appreciate you taking the trip up here. The hour's flown by. We wish you the best of luck. We'd like to have you back again, especially with some of the players.
Right.
And Joe's going to be playing Journey here for
Journey, Guitar Hero.
So, Gooch Cardenas, the head coach at Central Arizona College. For Joe Carrero, I'm Tom Di Camillo. We'll catch you in a couple weeks on CAClive.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight